Happy Friday, everyone. We're happy that you could join us for this webinar. We're sorry about the technical difficulties of the morning one. We are up and at 'em this afternoon. It looks like a tornado came through here because we're moving, so excuse that. If you haven't checked out the newsletter that I sent out earlier in the week, the new address is in there, so make sure you take note of that. We are happy to have Juju Hook here with us. She is a strategist for building your brand. She is going to talk to you today about how to build your brand and answer any questions that you have. I know a lot of you are thinking about doing private label and you just are like, I don't even know where to begin, how to get it out there, how to make it so that people know who I am. So if you have any questions, definitely ask those. And having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Juju.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm going to open my chat box here so I can see you. My name is Juju, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today and hope that any questions that you have, you can feel free to ask throughout the presentation. I have been a brand strategist for more than 25 years now, just so you kind of know who I am and why I'm qualified. I started in the financial industry. Worked there as an executive for many years, moved to the automotive industry. Then I managed all of the brands for Jacuzzi worldwide for a number of years. And then I owned my own ad agency for many years. And just recently, in about 2015, I moved my business online and started to work strictly with entrepreneurs who are building brands. So what you do is right up my alley. It's what I do all day long. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can build your brand. And I'm going to move back and forth between slides and showing myself on screen. And there's a reason for that. And if you have one thing happen to you in this presentation today, what I would like to happen is for you to have a shift in your understanding. So the number one thing that people think about brand is that it's about logos and colors and fonts. So people say, I'm going to go out and make my brand, right? Or I'm going to hire an artist and they're going to make my brand. And that's not what your brand is about. Your brand is about connection, the same way that I'm connecting with you now. So I want to move back and forth on the screen so that we're having a back and forth so that you'll connect with my brand. And in the end, we'll have something that we've shared together. Does that make sense? Everybody following along? Okay, perfect. So I want to, there are several reasons why people come to a branding seminar, okay? And you may be in any number of these situations. So it may be that you're focusing on the day in and day out transactions, right? I find this really common with e-com sellers of any kind. Everything's about transaction and you're not building any customer loyalty. So if that's what's happening with you, you're in the right place right now, okay? Maybe that you don't really understand what a brand is, let alone how to create one. And there's a lot of buzzwords related to branding. So if you're in that situation, you're in the right place too, okay? It may also be that you're looking to attract a very specific group of buyers. And I hear this a lot, right? I have an avatar, I have an ideal customer, I have somebody I want to see my product, and I don't know how to get those people to see me, right? So if that's the case, then you're in the right place as well. You may also be afraid, and I hear this very often, that there is nothing special about your business or your offerings, right? So one of the things I hear really often is, gosh, everybody's doing this, or someone's already done this, or already said this, or already made this. How do I make my business different than everybody else's? And I want to tell you this specifically, that if you're feeling this way, this isn't your fault. This is something that market pressure makes us feel, and I promise you that everyone can be number one at something. And I've helped, I can't tell you how many businesses build brands over the past, 25 years, and I've never found one that wasn't number one at something. Okay? So, does that make sense? Everybody with me? All right, good. Okay, so I want to ask you a question really quick. I'm going to share my screen here. Hang on. So what if I could show you how to develop a brand in 6 weeks or less, right? This doesn't have to be a rest of your life thing, okay, that allows you to charge premium pricing and build loyalty even if you have no creative abilities or talent. Would that be an hour well spent?
That would be a fantastic hour.
All right, good. Okay, so this is me. My name is Juju. And what I want to tell you is that I have built brands for other people and for myself for a very long time. This is my current brand, Juju Hook. I just bought this brand online late in 2015, and I have about 20,000 social media followers, and I have a list of about 35,000 people who I communicate with every single day. I did not invest a ton of money in my brand. I did invest time and attention and energy in getting it right from the start. So if I did it, I promise you that you can do it. I have zero creative talents, okay? This is my first week on Amazon. I know this is a group of Amazon sellers. I just released my first book, okay? So I feel your pain. I feel what you're doing here. I've been clicking refresh on my screen every 4 minutes since this happened. So I'm very, very much in your world in this particular moment. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what a brand is, okay? And a brand is nothing more than what a prospect or a customer feels and thinks of when they hear your company name or your product name, okay? So your brand is an emotion. It's something that people feel about you. And you can create that to a certain extent, but you can't control it. You're going to contribute to it, but the customers are going to control it. Okay, so all you can really do is create an environment and make moves to facilitate those feelings, all right? So a good brand allows you to do two things. It allows you to charge more and sell more. So I hear a lot of people, especially in the e-com world, that are very transaction-oriented, that'll say, oh, Juju, branding that's all about the way you look, and I'm not very creative, and I'm not an artist, and I really like to focus on the money. Okay, well, this is where the money is. I promise you, branding is not about, blue skies and pretty pictures. Now, a valuable brand, okay, has two things. It develops and fosters two things. One is trust, which means if I trust you, I'll pay more for your product, okay? And the second one is loyalty. If I'm loyal to you, I'll buy again and again. And that's what you're really looking for is trust and loyalty, okay? You can do this on all different levels. Apple does it on an enormous level, and I have plenty of solopreneurs who do it one-on-one every single day. Okay, you don't have to be a big brand to do this, but I want to tell you 3 secrets that you need to know if you want to do it well, all right? So the first is the market that you're in is like a giant online dating site, okay, and nobody likes a player. Nobody trusts a player, all right? It's not going to work for you if you're trying to make everything happen on the first date. Okay, we're looking for long-term relationships here. The second is that you need 2 skills to build a successful brand, and neither one of them is creativity, okay? And the third secret is there's one thing that Amazon does not own, but you do, that you're probably not maximizing right now, okay? So I'm going to take you through those 3 secrets. I don't have my chat box open while I'm viewing my screen, so if questions come up, will you let me know?
I will most definitely let you know. I have them all open.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I want to talk about the fact that the market is like a giant online dating site, and I use this analogy, this kind of like, because everybody knows about online dating, even if you're not doing it, right? Everybody knows about swiping right and swiping left and how it works and how dating works, right? So I want to talk to you about how you form relationships in real life, okay? Because they're exactly the same way that you form relationships with a brand. And the number one way to sell more is to get a person to buy again and again and again, right? It's much easier to get a repeat buyer than it is to bring in new ones all the time. And it also allows you not to rely on Amazon for everything. Right? Lets you come off of that relationship a little bit and develop your own relationships, okay? So I use a system that I call the Unforgettable 5, and I'm going to take you through this pretty quickly so that I can get to your questions, and I think that this will make sense to you just from a life standpoint, okay? So the first thing that happens when you meet somebody and you date them is that you attract them. Right? You have an unforgettable attraction. Oh, I see you online, I see a profile, maybe I see you from across the room, and I'm attracted to you. So if I'm attracted to you, I might just give you a first date, okay? Now, pricing is a first date player strategy, okay? So if you're going to be the cheapest, if all you're going to do is offer your product as a commodity, and you're going to go buy it somewhere and sell it somewhere, and everything that you do is about pricing, always your strategy will be a first date strategy. Will always be about attraction. You'll never move past that. Does that make sense? So you'll be destined to 1,000 first dates, okay? The second thing that has to happen if you want a brand that fosters trust is connection, okay? Now, how do we connect with people? We connect with people over what we believe. So I want to give you a little tidbit here that's going to make your business much more rewarding for you on a daily basis, and it's going to change things between you and your customer, and that is you need to write a manifesto. Anybody know what a manifesto is? Are you familiar with manifestos? Anybody talk about this in this group before?
Yes.
Okay, so a manifesto is a public declaration of what you believe. Your manifesto is based on the intersection between what you believe and what's important to your customers. Okay, so the reason that they buy your products or products like yours is because they want to undergo a transformation. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, okay? But at the intersection between what you believe and what's important to them lies a manifesto. So if you can kind of step back and talk about, you know, how your product's going to change the world and what it is that you're really bringing into the kind of ecosystem where the market is playing, then you'll have a level of connection, okay? So in the dating world, it works like this. I was attracted to you either because of your product or your logo or your pricing or whatever. We made it to the first date. Now we're on our first date and we're talking about what we believe in. Where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on this? How do you like this? What are you interested in, right? What does your world look like? What do you believe? Now we're connected, all right? Now I'm going to go on a second date with you. Does that make sense? All right. What happens on the second date? Stories. I want to hear your stories, right? Nobody wants to hear a boring story. There's nothing worse than going on a date with a boring person. Everybody knows it, okay? Your story is always about me, okay? Because I'm on a date with you, everything's about me. Now, people don't like to hear this. You want to tell your story like, you know, this is the history of my company and this is what what happened, and you know, this is why we're established this way, or this is why we use these kind of products. But the truth is, interesting stories are always about me. So I have, I love to tell people this. I'm married to a German guy. My father-in-law is German. He doesn't speak a word of English. Every single time we take my father-in-law to a party, everyone at the party tells me my father-in-law is the most interesting guy they've ever met. They're like, oh my God, I love your father-in-law. Such a great guy. He's so nice. The guy never says a word. Okay, never says a word, doesn't speak English. The reason people like him so much is because it's all about them. So what you have to remember about your story, about your brand story, about what you're bringing to the world is it's always about the transformation that the other person's going to have, okay? People don't buy things. They don't buy products. They don't buy services. They buy what they'll become the moment they use those things. All right, so if I buy new shoelaces because my running shoes come untied, then what I'm buying is a woman who can run more quickly. I'm buying the woman that I am when my shoes stay on, okay? If I'm buying products for curly hair, then what I'm buying is a woman who's not frizzy, okay? And your story is always about my transformation in some way. You might be demonstrating it through your own transformation. You might be talking about your history or, you know, how you came to this place, but it's always about my transformation. Does that make sense? So you attract me, you connect with me over something that you believe, and now you tell me a story, and that story is about who I'm going to become when I use your product, okay? Notice that nowhere in here have we talked about logos, colors, or fonts, okay? Your brand is a living, breathing thing between you and other people, okay? Now, the next thing that you need if you want to get to a next date, right? If we really want to move forward in a relationship, I need to know about your personality. And this is where your logos and colors and fonts come in. Okay, this is where your consistency is important. Okay, every single time you show up, you have to show up the same way. You have to use the same kind of words. You have to use the same voice. You have to use the same colors. It has to look the same. And what happens with us as entrepreneurs is we want to change this. We want to switch it up. We want to keep it interesting. And when you do that, when you make those changes, you diminish trust. So just about the time that you're getting it or you're getting sick of it, other people are getting it. Okay, so your brand personality is about the way you show up on the page, the way you show up on the screen, the way you show up in your packaging, the way you show up every single time a customer comes into contact with you. Does that make sense? All right. And the last is unforgettable shared experiences. And I'm going to talk about this in secret number 3, but every single time a customer comes in contact with your brand at any point in the process, they have an experience. And the more you control that experience and elevate that experience, the better your loyalty ratios will be, the more often someone will buy from you. Okay, the best possible thing you can do is to make someone say, wow, I can't believe they just did that. Okay, so those are 5 parts to becoming unforgettable. You need that if you don't want to be a player. Okay, if you want to move from transactions to relationships. Okay, there are 2 skills you need to build a successful brand, and neither one of them is creativity. The number one thing that I hear from e-com sellers is, Juju, listen, I am not creative, right? I don't want to write this stuff. I don't want to draw this stuff. This is not in my wheelhouse. The reason that I got into this is because I'm good with the numbers, okay? I'm good with the processes. And I tell you, I have zero creative ability. I owned an agency for many years. They wouldn't give me markers, scissors, or tape. They removed them from my desk because I made such a show with these things, all right? You do not need creativity to do this. What you first need is consistency. It's a number 1 skill of a brand builder. Every single day you stay with it, okay? Now, you may be building... You can show up consistently in a number of different ways, and we can talk about these in the Q&A because I know you want to know about specific things. But if you're selling a product, the best thing that you can do is provide content to support that product, right? To teach people how to consume it, how to use it, how to wear it, you know, how to build it into their lives. And you're going to consistently show up the same way every single time. Consistency builds trust. If I meet you at a party and we're dating, okay, we decide to go on a date, and the first day you show up and you're a cowboy, and then the next time you show up and you're a hipster, I'm not going to trust you. I'm going to think you're a flake, okay? So consistency, number 1 rule, number 1 skill that you need to build a brand, all right? Does it make sense? Okay. Second is empathy. That means that you have to understand what the person who's buying your product is going through. It's the number 1 thing that you can do is to understand their hopes, dreams, beliefs, goals, fears, and frustrations. What does someone else want in relation to your product? And that's what you're going to build your brand around, okay? Now, the reason that I bring all this up is because what happens with branding is we rush to a designer. We rush to a point where we want someone to implement visual things that are related to the brand or videos or all different kinds of things. And if you don't do this stuff first, if you don't understand first what your customer hopes and dreams and believes and fears and gets frustrated about, then all of that is for naught. It doesn't make any sense, okay? All right. So this is the last secret that I want you to understand about branding in general before I answer specific questions, and that is that there's one thing that Amazon doesn't own that you do that you're probably not maximizing right now, and that is the relationship between you and your customers. So what I so often hear from e-com sellers, especially Amazon sellers, is, well, Amazon controls all of that, right? Amazon, you know, I can't get offline. I can't get next to these people. Amazon controls all of that. And you can make a difference there. You do own the relationship. You own every single step of the process after they hit that buy button, all right? And here's what I like to tell people to do, okay? I'd like you to make a touch point map. I'd like you to sit down and say, from the second that someone hits that button, where are all the places that I could potentially touch them, right? The moment they open the bag, the moment they try this product on. If you're selling spatulas, it's the moment, the first time that I'm flipping an egg, right? Where are all the touch points between this product and the person that's using them? And then I want you to brand those touch points so you can connect. Does it make sense? So if I'm opening a bag, it's interesting. I just talked to someone about this the other day. I just went on a vacation and I bought swimsuit cover-ups. Okay, and I ordered 10 of them on Amazon, and I was going to return the ones that I didn't like. I'm a better buyer than I am a returner, so that's a strategy that my husband doesn't really appreciate very much. I order 10 of something, I say I'm going to return 9 of them, and like 3 of them end up going back, and I keep 7 of them. But as I opened all of those bags, there wasn't not one seller who touched me in any way inside that bag. There wasn't one seller who told me in any way about why I should have a connection to that brand, about how I should feel when I put on that swimsuit cover-up, about what they knew about me as a person. And that's not a hard thing to do, but it will separate you from everybody else on the planet. Does this make sense? Yep. All right. Okay. So does anybody have specific questions about brand, about building brand, about how you do it? So that I can kind of take you, sort of step by step through maybe some tactics. So tell me who in the room is building private label? Can we talk about some specific products?
Yes, I know that there's at least one person watching who does private label, and I think there are some others that want to get into it.
Okay. Does anybody have any specific questions about how to get started? About the kind of, process step by step, how to get started?
If you're not doing private label, how could you go about that as strictly a reseller?
Okay. So strictly resell. So give me an example. What are we selling?
Tools, toys, and clothing.
Tools, toys, and clothing. Okay, perfect. So if I'm buying tools, toys, and I'm going to take one thing at a time. So say I'm buying toys from you, okay? There are several ways that you can differentiate yourself from other sellers, both at the time that I'm buying and after I buy. So the first is how you're curating these products, okay? As a seller, what you're really doing is you're making choices for me. Now, I'm a parent, okay? I'm buying toys. I'm a parent. So one of the things that you can do is you can have a product line, sort of breadth and depth that says something about you, either the kind of toys that you sell or who manufactures the toys that you sell in terms of their, what they believe, that type of thing, okay? But what I want you to do is bring me offline. I want you to bring me off Amazon to the extent that you're allowed. So when I get these toys in the mail, is there a way that later I can go to your website so that you can create videos that show me how to use them? Can you be some type of an authority on parenting techniques or early childhood education? Can you take a position about what you believe about the way kids should experience toys? Can you create a product line that sets you apart from other people in terms of materials, okay? Things like this. Does this make sense? So the depth and breadth of your product line can demonstrate something about you, okay? If it's tools, you have an opportunity to talk about how people can use the tools, okay? So instructional videos are huge, right? If I buy something from you, and then you can lead me through the product to a place where I can watch instructional videos, or I can see things that other people have made, or I can give people the opportunity to, post demonstrations of what they've made, things like this, okay? So the idea is that you want to separate yourself from everyone else based on, beliefs or your manifesto, and you do that through depth and breadth of product line or content that you create after the fact. Does it make sense? So, and one of the things that I hear really often from people is, I'm afraid to do this. So I'm going to give you a couple of, kind of easy hints about how you can remain consistent. And the first one is tailor brands. Is there anybody in the room who uses tailor brands? So Taylor Brands, Tailor, tailorbrands.com. You can go there and they will build a brand for you for like 29 bucks. Okay, you get a logo, you get a color, you get colors, you get all kinds of stuff. In addition, you can sign up for Taylor Brands. I think it's like $10 a month or something, and they'll provide you all of the consistent brand support around that. So you'll get social media posts, and you'll get video frames, and you'll get proposals, and you'll get PowerPoint presentations, and everything that you need to remain perfectly consistent, so that if you're going to pull something, if you're going to be offline, off Amazon, all right, then everything will have absolute consistency, and you can build what you believe and how you're different into that. Does that make sense?
Yes. And we have a couple of questions that came through too as well.
Okay.
So one of the people said that I do have a private label. What is the best way to build a raving tribe? And he's selling toothpaste right now and will move into supplements. And then there's a question after that one.
Okay, so toothpaste, I love the toothpaste example. So the way that you build a raving tribe, all right, is definitely through connection. There's no doubt about that, all right? I follow you because I believe in something that you believe in. Now, what's going to happen is as you create a tribe, people will, the fastest way is to create an enemy. Okay, so I'll follow you to the top of the mountain. You put your flag in the mountain. I'm part of your, raving community, raving tribe, okay, because we're either fighting against something together or we're creating something together, okay? The world's going to look differently, right, once we've done this thing together. So if you're selling toothpaste, what you're really selling is a smile, okay? You're changing the world, all right? Every time someone smiles at another person, the world changes, right? My day changes. My life changes through a smile. So it's about that transformation. You're going to create a raving tribe when you understand who I become when I use the toothpaste, right? Actually, toothpaste is one of the things that I order on Amazon because I use a very particular kind of toothpaste. It's funny that you say that. And I believe that it works better than anything else. And I believe that my smile is part of my business, right? It's part of my business card. So if you want to create tribes, several things. First of all, name the people who use your product. Allow them to identify in some way with that product. Now, if you're building tribe, one of the things you may have heard is that status is important. I buy your products because my status level increases. That's a really common discussion in branding. And with toothpaste, smile is a huge amount of status, right? So name the people who use your toothpaste. Allow them to identify or connect with it in some way. Does this make sense? Okay. If you're going to create a tribe, you probably have to create content past toothpaste, right? I probably won't follow you around and wear your t-shirt because I buy your toothpaste. But I will follow you around and wear your t-shirt because you sell toothpaste and you're someone who believes something about the connection of smiles, right? Or about dental health, or about, the way that I can raise my kids to care for their teeth, or something about that. But it has to be something that matters to me, and you need to provide me with a way to identify with it as an individual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to say, I believe that he's actually a dentist, so that makes it even better.
Yeah, that's funny because I had a webinar some time ago where my son's orthodontist is like the best brander I've ever seen in my entire life. And I did a whole webinar on him because going to the dentist is not something that we usually would talk about in a branding seminar, right? I mean, it's like, I spend my whole life trying not to go to the dentist. And my son loved his orthodontist so much that he couldn't wait to go. And so it doesn't really matter what you do or who you are. There are ways that you can get people to identify with you, through connection, through what you believe. And my son's orthodontist just believed all of these things about how much fun kids should have and the way they should be prized and the way they should feel when their teeth were straight, that he really changed who my son was. So So it doesn't matter what you sell, you have an opportunity to connect with people in a real way. Okay? And if you don't do that, several things will happen to your business and to your experience. The first is that even though you're connecting, even though you're transacting business and you're making money, right, and you're turning over products, there will come a time in your business, if all you're doing is selling a commodity, that you'll be bored and you'll be burnt out and you'll wonder, where's the essence of life, right? What's my purpose? And when you engage in these branding activities, when you build a business that means something, that connects on some level, that's about relationships with people, you will elevate your daily business experience. And then, by virtue of the fact that you're locked into it, that you're engaged, you'll proliferate more sales. You'll make more money.
That's good. And especially because you have knowledge of dentistry, giving people tips and tricks on how to keep good gum health and things like that, and things to eat to keep healthy teeth and things like that, that could just put you over the edge with your audience and give them something to come back for.
Yeah, and because, the beautiful thing about small brands versus big brands too, like let's talk about toothpaste, right? I only have so many options where I can buy my toothpaste or who I can buy it from. And so when I buy these products from a nameless, faceless, giant entity like Colgate, Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson, I have no connection to those things. They might have millions of dollars in advertising, but I have no connection to those things personally. But if you have the opportunity to provide content, okay, if you have the opportunity to show me who you are and why you made this and why it matters and how it pertains to me personally, demonstrations of how I should brush my teeth, or things that I can do to preserve my teeth, right? Or things that I can do when my kids' mouths hurt, okay? Or as their teeth come in, all these kinds of things. I have a connection with you that I don't have any level with these big companies. It allows you to set yourself apart in a way that giant competitors cannot. So utilize that. Bring people off of the transaction into your world, in a world where you consistently speak to them and connect with them on a daily basis. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can Google like questions people have about teeth or going to the dentist, and that can be a good starting point to find things that are questions that they have, concerns that they have, and just take those and provide that information to them. I know that he also has a website for this product, so you can post those articles right on there. And that could be a good way. If you have a Facebook page, do that as well. And that's what will keep bringing people back.
Yeah, and you don't have to create your own stuff. You can curate.
Yeah.
There's two different ways to provide content, right? One is content that I make. So I'm making videos or infographics or things like this that people can download, little ebooks, things like that. But the second way to provide content is to curate it, is to say, okay, in relation to, say back to go back to the toy example. Okay, so in relation to toys, or in relation to the way my kids play or interact, I might believe 5 or 6 different things. Okay, I might have kind of 5 or 6 different pillars to my brand. Maybe I believe in, learning to read early. Okay, making things up, right? Now I can curate, meaning I can grab other people's things. I can go out and I can search for articles that support my claims or my 5 areas, and I provide a hub, kind of a content space where people can go and learn about those things, and it elevates that connection. It takes you away from being someone who just sells toys to someone who cares about kids, right? Or is in line with my parenting, right? Maybe I want to teach kids not to be entitled. So how do you give your kids toys without spoiling them? All right, and I provide 20 different kinds of information on that, so people can learn about that, and all of a sudden now you've elevated your relationship with the customer. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the next question is, I thought we couldn't put cards in the packages. He's strictly reselling at the moment.
Can you do something with the packages themselves?
Most people want to have control over that since they're shipping FBA.
Okay, so what about tags? So when someone experiences your product online, there must be a way that you facilitate how they use the product. Is there? Can you put instructions in there?
So the main concern with at least a lot of our clients in relation to this, if they're not doing private label,
Yeah.
they're not seeing how it can be applicable just because the things they're buying already exist on Amazon. They're already other branded products, and they're just taking it, shipping to FBA, and Amazon ships to the customer. They have very little to do with the customer relations between them. No.
So in other words, the only interaction that a customer has with you is the logo that's up on the left side of the page.
Right. It's basically your name when they click add to cart.
So I think ultimately from a brand standpoint, there's not going to be a lot you can do there until you decide to somehow, if what you've decided is that you're just going to engage in product arbitrage, right? So I'm going to buy it here, I'm going to price it, and I'm going to sell it here. Brand doesn't really apply to you in any real way. So you can brand your store per se, and you can create a product line, based on what you kind of curate, or be a personal shopper, so to speak, right? But product arbitrage in and of itself isn't really about branding. If you want to connect with people, you're going to have to take it to the next point. And I think too, strictly from a business standpoint, over the long haul, there may be some risk in not doing that. There may be some risk in kind of always playing that arbitrage game and not elevating things to some level of relationship so that you can control the business and the loyalty and the repeat buyers long term. So if there is a way for you to facilitate that, I think you'll have a different business experience over the long haul. Does anybody have any other specific questions about brand?
I don't have any that I see here, but I know that a lot of people ask, what is the best way to get your name out there, to get your brand out there? The first thing people usually start off with is Facebook. But what would you recommend to get their name out there for that brand?
So I think, social media in general is probably going to be the best way that you can do this if you feel comfortable with it. And I'm going to take you back to what I mentioned earlier about Tailor Brands or Canva or someplace like that, where you can develop some degree of consistency so you show up the same way all the time. And then back to this idea of connecting with people on a real level. So as you're creating your Facebook ads, you may be, depending on how sophisticated you are, you may be running a Facebook page and making posts and then boosting the posts, or you may be going into Facebook's ad manager and creating specific ads, everything from ads with long form copy to short form copy to photos only, depending on how you're doing this. But what you want to do is develop a degree of consistency. So as you're pushing the products out, as you're pushing whatever it is that you're selling out to these consumers, they're consistently having an experience with your brand. So if all you're doing is arbitrage, product arbitrage, and you sell a selection of something, then use those Facebook ads to somehow identify, to somehow separate yourself from anybody else who's selling them, right? So I know that I can come back to you for this, plus this, plus this, plus that. Sure, my go-to guy for wooden kitchen tools. Okay, it may be the same product that everybody else is selling, but I'm going to buy it from you because I believe that you've gone somewhere and curated this, and you care about me as a chef. Okay, and so in terms of the best way to get your name out there, that's going to depend on where your customers live. Right? Not physically live, but live online. Okay, there's literally billions of people on Facebook, so we're all there now. I know that different demographics of people are on different social platforms, though. You can use everything from Snapchat to Instagram stories to YouTube to whatever kind of suits you and suits your product. Start in a place where you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable videoing yourself, if you're not comfortable in that medium, don't start there. All right? You don't have to play everywhere online. Play to your strength, okay? And find your customers in a place where you feel strong, right?
Yep. And
I guess as a follow-up question to that is that, how do you feel about partnering with a social media influencer? Is it a good return on investment?
I think that the social media, and influencer is an interesting word, right? So if they're influencing your customers, then I would say yes. Okay. So what you're really buying with an influencer is exposure. And everything that you do in marketing has a cost and a benefit. So if you can figure out the return on investment, right? When you go out to Facebook or, to any social media platform and you start to advertise, you can pretty quickly see what it costs you to get exposure. You can see how much it will cost you to reach X number of people. Okay. And your influencers, obviously what you're doing with them is having them push your message out. So as long as you can somehow analyze the cost benefits, the return on investment of that, I would say yes. I think one of the challenges with influencers is that we kind of jump into the excitement of it or the ethos of it without really figuring out what the economics of it are. Okay, so you want to be able to ask these questions, the right questions, right? Who am I going to reach? How am I going to reach them? Who's this influencer's relationship with? And if I compared that to, advertising in other ways, what would my return be? Does that make sense? So an influencer provides you with something that you can't get on your own, which is a tacit recommendation. It's one thing for you to say, hey, buy this hat. It's another thing for somebody to say, hey, I just bought this hat, right? So for instance, one of the things I participated in when I did my book is Thunderclap. Has anybody ever heard of Thunderclap?
no.
Okay, so Thunderclap is super easy. They even have a cheap platform, but what you can do with Thunderclap is you can go out and get a whole bunch of people's social media lists and platforms at the same time. So you create one little post and you share that post with people and you say to everybody, hey, will you go to Thunderclap and sign up for this? It only takes a second. Right? Literally takes 1 second. And at a certain moment and a certain hour and a certain day, they release all of them at once. And it's like a giant thunderclap. Okay? And so all of these people are talking about you on social media at one time. The benefit to something like a thunderclap or something like an influencer, obviously, is that you have a tacit recommendation from them. Okay? It's something that you can't buy on your own. But don't do that stuff without cost benefits analysis. Sorry, I'm having participation here from Diego. Hang on.
No problem.
So yeah, that I think I also think that the influencer thing is going to be much more valuable to you, obviously, if you're private labeling. So if you're going to invest in your own brand, then the influencer thing becomes much more valuable than if you're just pushing someone toward a product or a page where you're curating. Obviously, you want to associate your brand, that connection level, with somebody who represents it well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this stuff, it's kind of esoteric, and it's always hard to talk about branding for me with the e-com folks, because everybody lives in this transactional world. This kind of one and done, kind of turn it, right? Buy it, sell it. And branding is an entirely different animal. So if this is something that you want to learn and you kind of want to go through and you want to, make that headspace switch that we've been talking about in the last hour, I have a program called Unforgettable You that you can join. I'll take you through it step by step. How to differentiate your brand, all different kinds of exercises to get it flowing. It takes about 6 weeks from start to finish, although I do have people who want to kind of, cram it all in a weekend, and I have people who want to do it over the course of a year. I take you step by step, kind of over the shoulder with videos through how to build a brand. has videos and worksheets and full implementation, start to finish. You'll get the 6-week program. And if you are one of the first people who respond, I'll also give you a one-on-one strategy session, all right, which I told Sam that I would do for this group. So I'll sit with you kind of one-on-one with your brand and talk about, maybe how you want to name it or what you want to do or how you want to build the brand or how you want to connect, however you want to use that. So you'll get the 6-week program plus the Kickstart strategy session. For this group, I'll also do a coaching call. One of the things I find is that people get a couple of weeks in and they want to reach out and ask questions. And because this is an e-com group and an Amazon group, your questions might be different, than other people who are branding. So I'll be happy to facilitate that as well. So you get this 6-week program plus the strategy session plus the Kickstart coaching call, which is about a $9,000 value. I've done this with clients, all over the world, all different sizes. And if you decide you want to do that, I'll do it at $997 today or 2 payments of $597. Okay. I did set up a special order form for you. It's at ace.unforgettableyou.com. So you can go there and you can sign up. I'll have Megan, who works with me, facilitate those Kickstart sessions. You can, use them whenever you'd like. And just work with you over the 6 weeks to get what you want out of it. Okay. I put a number of other things in here that you may use to take your brand to the next level. One is a big fish formula, and that's where you may involve your influencers. How do you get people to see you? How do you get people to notice you? How do you get people to try your product or, to pick your product out of the millions that are out there? So I do include a big fish formula. There's a content creation calendar in there. If this whole idea about creating videos and content or curating or whatever is new for you, this will take you kind of step by step how to do it. And also how to create a media kit. So there may be people who are trying to get press or, trying to get bloggers to pick them up or whatever. And so there's also a media kit cheat sheet in there. So this is the total package. If you decide you want to do it, I'd be more than happy to work with you and have a ton of entrepreneurs who are doing this, and we'll get you from A to B. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I've written that down, the price and the website code. I'm going to send that out in our newsletter on Monday. I don't know what today is. It's Friday. So I'll send that out and definitely give people a chance to look at that. I've also been broadcasting this on our Facebook group. So people are watching it here and also in our Facebook group. So shout out to them. Sam posted in the Facebook group, Juju. So just so you know. So I wanted to put that in there because I'm like, she's not going to see that. But so people have been watching it in both places. This is definitely something that a lot of people that we work with could benefit from, and I'm definitely going to make this information available to them so they can take advantage of your program.
Good. The one thing about branding that's really kind of a boon is you only have to do it once, right? So you really want to get it right the first time, and spending a month or 6 weeks to kind of nail everything with your brand, everything you do after that will build on it. So it's kind of like investing in a house, right? With each year, the value of the house grows and grows and grows, and you have equity, and the same thing is going to happen with your brand. So if you can stop and work with somebody and really get it right the first time and understand it and step into it and own it and feel good about it, it'll change the way that you do everything inside your business. So I'm more than happy to help and delighted and honored to be here. So thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Can you send this last slide to Irene so I can make sure that I get all of those
Sure.
program inclusions in that email that I'm going to send out? If no one else has any further questions, Juju, this has been amazing. Thank you for coming and speaking with us. Sam has not stopped talking about you since he decided to have you come on for a webinar. So this is amazing. It has been a pleasure getting knowledge from you.
My pleasure. Have a great weekend, and I'll send this diary.
Thank you so much. If there are no other questions, we will be moving and crazy the next couple of days. So wish us luck. Everyone enjoy Halloween. That's happening next week. If you have a coaching call with me on Tuesday, you're in for a surprise. So enjoy that. So because I will be dressing up. And happy Friday, everyone.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.